What's going on, friends? Sean Kelly here, and I'm making this video to speak to all the business owners and entrepreneurs out there. So if you are a business owner and entrepreneur, this video may be for you. And the reason I'm making it is because a lot of the business owners and entrepreneurs I coach, especially car dealers, they have this dream, this desire, as do I myself. I'm no different. We have this desire to leave an awesome legacy in our business for our children. Not everyone wants to sell off their business. A lot of us entrepreneurs, business owners want to leave something for our children to take over, and passing that torch would be very fulfilling to us. And I want you guys to know that it is possible. In fact, I've got many business owners and with children, both sons and daughters, that I coach that are either in the middle of this transition or are very far along in making this transition. And when we started working together, there was a lot of anxiety around passing the torch to their kids. So I'm making this video to show you that it is possible, and I want to make sure that you and your children, or your child, whatever, but they might even be fully grown by now, right? But let's just say you and the future business owner, that they have what they need in order to succeed when you pass that torch. So that's what this video is about. And as always, guys, in the comments below, there is I've got a breakdown of what timestamps in the video are specific topics. So if you believe that you don't want to watch the whole video, but there's 2 or 3 of those sections of this video that are relevant to you, you can check out the timestamps in the comments below to skip to that section. And I also want to point out to you guys that it would be an honor if you'd subscribe to this channel. So hit the subscribe button and feel free to message me directly if you would like to get ongoing messaging from myself via email or whatever. You can reach out anytime. So let's talk about the first thing that the first barrier here that makes it tough for you to pass the torch to your offspring. Well, you aren't sure if they want it or not. I mean, think about this. If you don't know if they want it and they don't know if they want it, then how serious are they going to take learning what it takes to take over the business? And how much time and energy will you invest in developing them and giving them the tools that they need to do it? So step 1 to this whole thing is to kind of figure out if they want it or not. What's interesting is that a lot of the children, the future potential business owners, don't even know if they want it or not themselves. And I think business owners make the assumption that they're going to inherit my business, or maybe they don't assume it, but you're like, I want them to do it if they want to, but I don't want to force them. There's a business owner that I coach and who recently, had shared that with me. And I said, well, what's getting in the way of you asking them? And they're like, well, I did, and I have, and but they always seem to kind of beat around the bush. So we ended up getting them together, the son and the father, and had a good conversation about it. And I asked, I asked the son, what would give you confidence to know that you'd be making the right decision in taking over the business? And what is your biggest concern in doing so? And what it boiled down to is that the son was kind of was worried, like, hey, is the future of this particular business a good one to be vested in or not? And we ended up having a deeper dialogue about uncertainty, right? And just being cool with it and embracing it, because nothing's a guaranteed in life except taxes and death. So I hate to make light of those 2 subjects, but at the end of the day, that's the only 2 things. We got to grow old and we got to pay taxes. So there's nothing guaranteed in life. And that conversation helped the son realize that, my best odds of greater success are to take that torch and run with it, because at the end of the day, there are so many uncertainties. But what do we know is what we've already been successful at, and that was the business. So number 1 barrier you've got to overcome, you're not sure if they want it or not, or neither are they. So get clarity on that, find out those concerns and address them. And you might find out that it's easier for them to make a decision than you might expect. The second thing is that maybe your child works in your business, right? They work in the business. They do a job very well within the business, but you need to know more than if they can do a job or not. You need to know if they can run a business. There's a big difference between doing a job within a business and actually running and operating the entire business itself. So it's really important that you help them get clarity on what that actually looks like, right? Like for instance, I meet a lot of car dealers in the automotive realm whose son is like a sales manager or daughter is like a marketing manager. Well, selling to customers, converting leads into sales, and or marketing to customers are two facets of a business that are very important. But look at all the other facets you've got to run, right? You've got finances, you've got, think about this, you've got leadership, you've got management, you've got all these different buckets, like especially, again, going back to the dealership realm, you've got fixed operations, that's service and parts. You've got staffing, recruitment. There's a lot more to running a business than simply how much money you make and what you sell or what you bring in. So really helping them to try out different departments, right? Helping them to manage different departments, oversee them, and learning to do that as part of their routine is absolutely critical. And that brings us to the third point, which is, they won't, your son or your daughter, they won't know what you do if you don't know what you do. Do you have a routine that's dialed in? If you're an executive or an entrepreneur or business owner, if I start coaching with you, one of the first things I'm going to ask you to do is take inventory of your daily activities and all the behaviors you do throughout your day. Because it's like, if you don't know what you're doing throughout the day, time being your most precious resource, then bottom line is this: you don't know where your profit loss is happening. So you need to take inventory of what you do throughout the day, and then you need to ensure that you go over that with the offspring who you would be delegating these things out to. Imagine if you stepped out of the business tomorrow and you had to pass the torch to them, would they know what to do and how to do it? You've got to have that. The first step to being able to help them understand what you do is for you to document what you do. So there's really cool apps for that online. There's one that I prefer called Toggle. I think it's TOGGL. It's a free app, and literally, it might be $3, and you can literally track everything you do throughout the day. If you do that for a couple weeks, if you do it for 30 days, you can pretty much guarantee your whole routine is now documented. And then you can start coming up with a curriculum to train them. But remember, they won't know what you do if you don't know what you do. Now, the fourth area, and there's two more here, this one's critical. The fifth one is by far the most important, okay? But this one here is also important. Do you know how systematizing things will help them? In every business, there's always ways to make it better and more efficient. And, bottom line is this: when you pass the torch, do you want to give them a shiny, awesome Olympic torch, or do you want to give them like a smoldering bag of turds? All right, think about this. I joke, but that's real. That's what you can hand them if you don't systematize things. So start preparing now. Start taking all the little things that you've been sweeping under the rug or pushing to the side of your desk for later, and start organizing. Everything needs a place, and everything should be in its place. All right. And where all the little bottlenecks and inefficiencies are, if it takes you more than 2 minutes to get to something, it's probably not systematized properly. If you don't have line of sight to all the key areas in your business that are critical to your business functioning successfully within a minute or two, if you can't pull that up, then probably needs to be systematized. All right, you need better accountability, measurement, tracking, and it's that simple. So I want to ask you, you think about that. How could systematizing some of those areas, getting yourself organized, help pass that torch to them? Get that set up. In fact, work with them to set it up, because if they see how it works and they help build it with you, they might bring some ideas to the table. Guys, value your kid's opinion here. They might bring some ideas to the table that can change the game for you, which brings us to the last point is, if they haven't been given the right mentoring and coaching, then it's going to be really hard for them to succeed. I was just working with a business owner's son earlier, and I asked him this question. I said, "Hey, what do you think? What's one thing that would help you succeed if you could get it from your parents, so you could take this business over? What do you need from them?" And he's like, "Communication, man, communication." I'm like, tell me more about that. And he's like, well, Sean, how can I learn the skills that they have if we don't have time to sit down and talk about those things? He's like, my dad's got all this knowledge. He's a wealth of knowledge, but if we don't carve out time for me to learn those things, then I'll never get it. So you guys, what it boils down to is that if your kids, okay, if they're not getting mentorship and coaching from someone who's extremely talented, knowledgeable, and understands your business, then it's going to be tough for them. And there's this dealership, there's a multi-store, 3-store rooftop that I coach, and they hired this sales director from outside. And this person's got 5 years left till he retires. Great guy, great leader. And he wants to retire having passed on knowledge he wants to set that place up for success. He wants to leave the owner's son better off than he was when he got there. And that's his sole purpose. And as a result, the son's getting all sorts of great mentorship and accountability. And it's really benefiting the whole business. So other dealers hire myself. They bring someone in like me to coach the future leader of the organization, someone who can be a sounding board and can be there when the business owner can't, because there's so much on their plate. But at the end of the day, get them the right mentorship and coaching. Send them to school if you have to. A lot of like in the car business, we have NADA school, that's North American Dealer Association. There's all sorts of automotive schools they can go to. Every industry has some sort of schools or college courses you can send